Hey, good evening. Welcome to another riveting edition of the Ghost and the Goat podcast. I am your host, Buddy Thayer. I am typically joined by my co-host Bams, who would pop in. I'd put him up on the side right now. We haven't been able to do that in a few months. Bam has had some personal issues, so Bam is taking some time away from the show to work on himself to get himself better. But we all know that I'll get into it in a little bit. But we all know Aaron Rodgers, Bam's put all his quarters into all his coins and all his eggs into the Aaron Rodgers basket. And maybe he's just ashamed to show his face. I don't know what it is. But Bams, we're looking forward to seeing you back on the show and give us your next excuse on why Aaron Rodgers isn't leading the Jets right now into the glory land. He probably will by that point because they just signed Devontae Adams today, and he's got so many weapons. We'll get into sports in a little bit. So the show is typically myself and Bams being the big sports guy, season ticket Patriots holders, despite his liking of Aaron Rodgers and the awful New Jersey Jets, if you will. And he also has this thing for the paranormal. And me, I'm a paranormal guy. I'm a paranormal investigator, if you will, like tonight's guest. I have a flair for all things paranormal, but I'm a ghost guy for the most part. And I am also a proud, oddly enough, I'm a New Englander, but I hate the Patriots. I'm a hardcore, wicked Dolphins fan. I do have a stout love for my Boston Red Sox, who are playing golf right now. I have a love for the Boston Bruins, who made a wise choice, and they signed Jeremy Swayback, finally giving this guy, like, here's all this money, here's a starting job, let's just play some hockey. More about hockey, more about basketball next week as my glorious Boston Celtics lower another championship banner into the Garden. It was a great season last year. It was wonderful that they went ahead and won the thing. So this show tonight, you're gonna hear a little bit of sports. We talk about sports for the first 15 minutes or so. A little tribute for Bams. I'm not 86ing sports altogether while you're away. I'm gonna give you a little bit of sports, and then I'm gonna bring out the paranormal guy, and we're gonna talk ghosts and paranormal and books and all sorts of stuff for the remainder of the show. So before we do that, this is we just went through week 6. We're going into week 7 of the NFL. We'll go into the NFL first. I have 3 sports I want to cover really quickly over the next 15 minutes of football, the Major League Baseball, and the amateur run circuit here in New England. So first up, week 7, week 6. Week 7, we have the first game this week, the Denver Broncos on Thursday night on Amazon only, and unless you have Prime, you cannot watch it. Which is really cheap. But anyway, they take over everything anyway. But Thursday night's game, Denver Broncos travel to the New Orleans Saints. The Broncos, Bo Nix, he's doing a great job, right, for his first year. He was in college last year. This year he's a starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. His boss is John Elway, one of the greatest Hall of Fame quarterbacks of all time, second to Dan Marino, of course. So they travel to New Orleans. He's doing a good job. He can throw the ball. He can score a touchdown or two. He can run the ball. He's doing okay. He's not the best, but he's also not like the worst either. So, but he doesn't have the New Orleans Saints. He doesn't have the power of a great running team. And the wide receivers aren't bad. Their defense is stellar. They're going to carry them through most of the game. Derek Carr is still down, I believe. Oh, P.S. By the way, I meant to say this in the beginning of the show. If you're watching me on my Facebook page or BM's Facebook page, and you're commenting, and you're wondering why I'm not commenting back, it's because I don't see those comments until post show. If you want to comment in the chat room, please tune into a Van Down by the Rift podcast or Get Haunted, and you'll see the show on both of those outlets, and you can comment in the chat room, and we can go back and forth or whatever. But anyway, right now, I'm going to pick New Orleans. By the way, BTW, I had 11 wins last week. So, I mean, if you're into the whole sports gambling thing, hey, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure about this game. WWBD, Buddy would pick the Saints. On Sunday, we wake up to what used to be the Jacksonville Jaguars are now the Great Britain Jaguars. Apparently, they're playing the second week at home in London. They welcome your New England Patriots, or Bam's New England Patriots, who is... They finally started Drake May, and Drake May, like the rest of the drafted class of the quarterbacks this year, he did pretty well. He threw 3 touchdown passes. He looked really good. When he did get flushed out of the pocket, like almost every other play, because New England has 0 offensive line, he was able to scramble. He was able to throw downfield. He was able to stay poised in the pocket. I was moderately impressed. Their defense, yeah, it's kind of starting to fall apart with certain players going to jail, and that's not new for New England. And what else? Their running backs, Ramondre Stevenson went down with a possible season-ending injury. I'm not sure, but I will pick. Despite all that, Jacksonville is trash, and that's why they're playing in Great Britain. And New England is not trash, and that's why they get rid of Mac Jones. So I would pick New England with the points. I think it's 5.5 points for New England. I'm just doing money line for the most part here, but don't take Jacksonville. They're terrible. New England's terrible also. They only have 1 win, but they're going to get number 2. They're going to come home with 2 wins for Bobby Kraft. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks. As Geno Smith has been showing signs of life in the recent weeks, he leads the Seattle Seahawks team into Atlanta to face Kirk Cousins, who is like, this guy's on fire. This guy's got a hell of a team. This guy went from Minnesota, where he was doing well, to Atlanta, where he's doing much better. These guys and the Saints are making like the NFC South a division again. I'm going Atlanta all day. Points, not points. Any points, no points. Atlanta over Seattle. Tennessee, who is a terrible football team. They have a great defense. Don't get me wrong. The defense keeps them in any and every football game, but they stand no chance going to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Bills are going to wipe the floor. There's no question. The Bills could start all their secondary, and they would all that second string, they'd still beat Tennessee with their eyes closed and blindfolded. Cincinnati then travels to Cleveland again. Cleveland, Russell Stiver, he's a co-host on the Get Haunted. He's a co-host. He's a host. He's a co-host. He's on the Get Haunted page himself. He's a host of Unturned Pages, and he's a good friend. He's a Cleveland fan. Russ, I'm sorry, dude. Your Browns, Deshaun Watson, they all suck. They're all terrible. Just fold it up this year, like I'm going to do with my Dolphins. But don't bet on Cleveland against Cincinnati. Joe Burrows is going to come alive, and he's going to take it home. Houston is traveling to Green Bay. That should be a really good football game. Houston, I mean, they mopped the floor with the Patriots last week. That was just expected. They got themselves mopped in Minnesota. So I mean, while they're pretty great, Green Bay is pretty great as well. I'm going to pick Green Bay money line. I think Green Bay is favored as far as points go, but I'm going to pick Green Bay either way. I don't know. I'm sorry, Kim. My cousin Kim's a Houston fan. I'm sorry, dear. I don't think they got it. Speaking of teams that don't have it, my Miami Dolphins don't have a starting quarterback. We got Snoop Huntley. He played really well for the Baltimore Ravens a few years ago when Lamar went down, but Jimmy Page, I don't know what's we're waiting for Tua. Tua's not coming back this week. He comes off of possibly he's eligible next week to come off of concussion protocol. I just get nervous even saying that, because Tua is so precious and his head is so precious and dangerous. Don't anybody look at him for too long. His head might crack. He might just get another concussion. Tua, I can't wait for you to come back. You guys were fire last year. And honestly, I for the shits and giggles of it, if the points are involved, pick Miami, because Indianapolis really isn't that great either. Joe Flacco, while he looked all good, and no, he didn't really look that great. But he's not starting. The kid's coming back, and he's good. The rookie Richardson, I think that's his name. He's poop. Who's not poop? This is probably going to be the game of the week, or if not one, if not two games of the week. The Detroit Lions, who absolutely dumped on the Cowboys last week. The Cowboys couldn't even score a touchdown. The Detroit Lions destroyed the Cowboys, and they're taking that monster car out of Detroit, and they're driving up the road to Minnesota to face an undefeated Vikings team. The Vikings look good. Their defense looks good. Brian Flores, a couple of years ago, we were hearing he was suing the NFL, and he was all pissed off, and he got into all these scandals at Miami, and then there was possible allegations, and then he was then he disappeared for 2 years. Now he comes back to Minnesota and he has like the best defense in the NFL. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to pick Minnesota because I don't know. Maybe I'll pick Detroit. I don't know. I'm going to go Detroit. The hell with it. The next game, the NFC East showdown, as the Philly Eagles and Motor Mouth Nick Sirianni travel to New Jersey to play the Giants. They're not the New York Giants. They haven't been in New York in over 70 years. The New Jersey Giants. While the Giants are terrible, the Eagles, Nick, dude, my friend Nick, he's a Philly fan. He watches me occasionally. What are the Eagles doing, dude? How many times this year have you spelled out EAGLES in good space, dude? They are absolutely. They're not great. They haven't pulled it together. And your boy, your coach, your guy with the same name, Nick Sirianni, he was yelling at Eagles fans. These guys built a courthouse in their stadium because their fans are so violent and crazy. What are you doing, dude? You're disassociating yourself from your fan base. Not wise. That's going to be a shit show. I'm still going to pick the Eagles, but shit show. Speaking of shit shows, Tom Brady just bought 5% of the Las Vegas Raiders, an absolute shit show. They're traveling to L.A. to face the Rams, who are also a shit show this year, only because of injuries. And they're going to go from 1-4 to 2-2, I don't know. They're going to get the. I'm going to go Rams. Speaking of shit, the shit keeps going down the line as we get to Carolina, who is Andy Dalton kind of took over the power of the ginger. Only lasted. It was very short lived. Carolina is trash. They're going to Washington, who is absolutely not trash. Jalen Daniels, he came out of LSU. That kid's on fire. He can run. He can throw. He has poise. He put up a lot of good points against a very dominant Baltimore defense last week. I think he threw one interception, but dude, he's something to look at. He's something to be fearful of. So I'm gonna take Washington all day long and twice on Sunday. The second game on Sunday that is like, wow, it's going to be a slobber knocker. The Kansas City, a remake of last year's Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs and Taylor Swift travel to San Francisco, the land of the fruit and the nut, to play the 49ers, who haven't been all that 49er-ish this year. While their defense is keeping them in every single football game, they are vicious on defense. Brock Purdy is great, but their running game has really suffered with McCaffrey being out, and they couldn't put it together. They lost last week. They lost last week against what? I don't know. They lost. They're only like 2-3. They're poop. So I'm going to pick Kansas City and Taylor Swift all day long. She's going to write a new song this week based on the ass kicking that Kansas City is going to bring to San Francisco. The New Jersey Jets. Speaking of trash, the trash continues to fall. The New Jersey Jets and their new, I don't know if Devontae Adams is going to start. He got traded today. Aaron Rodgers was able to put that trade together, being the new head coach of the New Jersey Jets and starting quarterback. He's got all the weapons in the NFL around him, and he's still the most arrogant piece of shit there is in the game. I don't know why Bams loves him so much. Dude, he has not proven himself. He's won one Super Bowl. Okay, that's one more than my Dolphins have won. He's won one Super Bowl, and I don't know. He's not that great. People are saying, oh, he's Tom Brady. He can take like Tom Brady did. He had such a winning combination in New England. He took that whole thing and he went to Tampa Bay. He's not Tom Brady. As much as I dislike Tom Brady, I dislike Aaron Rodgers a whole lot more. He's just where Tom Brady, what TFB was the name I would refer to my female dog as. Aaron Rodgers is just a jerk. So I don't know. That's you heard it first, yeah. The Monday night, there's a double-sided Monday night game this week as the Baltimore Ravens take on the Tampa Bay Bucks. Baltimore has finally come alive. Oh my God, Lamar Jackson. This guy can run. This guy can throw. This guy can run and throw. This guy can catch. This guy goes out for passes. Derrick Henry, second coming of Derrick Henry. He is on fire. He ran for 150 yards last week, 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers is a bouquet of catches. I like that one, don't you? Bouquet of catches. He comes from Boston College. I think he's a Boston UBU. He's a Boston. He's a Boston kid. He comes from Boston, and he is catching some footballs for Baltimore. Their defense is equally as scary. But Tampa Bay is starting to win some football games. Tampa Bay was like had a really great lead last week against the Saints, then gave it up, and then went on fire and scored 51 points. They scored like 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. It was very impressive to see. Either way, I'm going to go Baltimore. By the way, I'm going Pittsburgh in the game before this. I would never bet on a New Jersey team. And the last game of the week, the LA Chargers traveled to Arizona. Arizona couldn't hold on to the football last week. I think they had like 4 or 5 fumbles. While their quarterback is Kyler Murray. He's when he wants to be on fire and pay more attention to football than he does video games, he's a pretty good quarterback. Marvin Harrison Jr. He's like his dad. He can catch footballs. John Connors, their running back, he's pretty good too. They have a decent defense when they want to play football. They couldn't keep it up. They lost a good game against I want to say, I don't know who they lost against last week. They just dropped. They couldn't hold on to the football. It was a good game. I don't know. I don't know. They lost. That's what they played. They lost. The LA Chargers, I would go I'm going to go LA. LA looks pretty good. Herbert looks good. I think they I'm going to go Chargers. I'm going to go Chargers on the money line. Don't do it for the points because I'm really not sure. Speaking of moving on from football, the MLB, my Boston Red Sox, my beloved Red Sox, like I said earlier, are playing golf. In the MLB, we're down to the ALCS and the NLCS, the championship series. The ALCS is going on right now. Game 2, the New York Yankees currently lead in the series 1-0. They won last night as they shelled the another awful team from Ohio, the Cleveland Guardians. They're awful because they changed their names to the Guardians. They will always be the Indians, and that's why they're losing right now to the New York Yankees, 2-0. I hate the Yankees, so I want to see them lose, but they're not going to lose. They're a pretty solid team. They're going to probably walk right through all over Cleveland and walk right into the World Series. They're playing either the Mets or the Dodgers. The Mets did dirty to Bams' Phillies. Bams is a Phillies fan. Don't ask me why. They had a great year. They had probably one of the best records in baseball, and they lost in the first round of the playoff to the Mets, dude. They lost to the Mets. We're now tied for the series. With one against the LA Dodgers. I hope the Mets win. The Dodgers took all the Red Sox good talent, and they're winning baseball now. It's like the Yankees and the Red Sox, like back in the 1920s. It's like, what happened to our team? All right, they're with the Dodgers now, or they're with the Yankees. So anyway, I digress. I hope to see the Mets and the former Indians, or the Guardians, if you will, in the World Series. But I think it's going to be the Yankees and the Dodgers. And then, unfortunately, I'm going to vomit in my mouth either way because one of those two teams are going to win the World Series. And if I have to live in New England another year and hear another Yankees fan say, "Hey, 37, 38," I'm just going to puke in their face. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be graphic. Speaking of graphic, I'm going to finish up the sports section with a most graphic race, if you will. This afternoon, this weekend, I was privy to support one of my. He's one of my best friends. He runs races. For what reason, I couldn't yet tell you. But this weekend, he decided that he was going to take place in the Mid-State Massive Ultra Trail Run, and I was going to be his support, and go there at certain stops and be his crew. So provide him with certain foods and a whole list. This is his list. I wrote Ahern Strong. That's his name, Jeff Ahern Strong. Get it? And I don't know if you can see it. I'm zoomed in, but fill the water, grab his snacks. Apply the I'm not going to tell you what to apply. The Motrin, switch out the charging. Just get his meals ready for different runs, different sites and stuff. That was his. He had that on the inside of his truck windows, which he allowed me to drive his very nice Ford F-150 and follow him throughout the state of Massachusetts. He started the race here in New Ipswich, New Hampshire. That's our guy there, Jeff Ahern. We were live, a van down by the river. Let me just say, I was going to go live and follow him throughout a 24-hour, 30-hour period of. He was going to do this for 30 hours. This is absolutely nuts. And I was going to go at different spots and do different live broadcasts, but the reception in the mountains in Massachusetts and New Hampshire is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. So I had to rely on recording, and I was able to post certain videos when I could. certain storylines. But this is Jeff in New Ipswich, New Hampshire. It's about a quarter of the way into New Hampshire. It's about around the Mount Monadnock area. If you're looking on a map, it's south of what's called the Lakes region of New Hampshire. It's about I don't know, it's about a 20-minute drive into New Hampshire, but it's a very hilly and mountainy area. As soon as you leave scenic New Hampshire, let me bring up, this is his guide. This is what I went by all weekend. So the yellow is where I had to be his crew. And then the other spots are just like watering spots. He could stop and get water and like just stop and catch his breath. But he started at the Windblown XC ski area in Ipswich, New Hampshire at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. He ran for 9.1 miles and could stop at the Old Pierce Road in Ashburnham. Betty Joe, I said it right, Ashburnham. I was calling it all sorts of other awful names all weekend. At 9.1 miles, this was his expected arrival. This is the time he was cut off if he didn't make it there. That's a good time. So anyway, I ended up meeting him here at the Jewel Hill Road, Ashburnham. This 2 for 2 Betty Joe, 15.1 miles in. So I saw him at 15.1 miles. And this was a professional. This is me on the side of the road. The car's whizzing by. This guy comes out running. This is him. This is Jeff running at 15.1 miles. He gets to the marker. He gets some water. He keeps on running, guys. Right? And then he comes and runs. Then he runs. Let me zoom this on in. He runs. I don't know if I can. He runs. Hold on. Then I caught him at Wachusett Dental, which is basically this giant parking lot of this dentist that was closed for the afternoon at the 23-mile marker. So he had run 23 miles. He got there. He was expected to get there at 3:31. He got there a little bit late because in the area between New Hampshire and Wachusett Mountain, believe it or not, it's very hilly and very rocky with all those mountains in between and stuff. Go figure that out. So it took him a little bit extra time. And then, so that was that. This is where I saw him. This is out at Wachusett Dental. He comes out of this little yellow thing here. This is the end of a trailer. He comes out here. He runs. He crosses the road. He crosses the road over here. There's a tent up here. He gets some water and stuff. There's me set up here with his food. He eats some food really quick. He crosses this street here, goes to the right here, and goes down a trail which will lead him to the Mount Washington ski area. So I'm way up here. He runs all the way down here. I catch him down here at the next spot. He's like, dude, I'm feeling these hills. I'm like, dude, you got this. You got this, dude. So he climbs Mount Washington. He does it in like 30 minutes. What a beast, dude. What a beast. Climbs Mount Washington up over the top. And then we have. So then in that time, after I saw him at Mount Washington, I'm like, I got to go recharge my own battery. So I went out and got some really good French onion soup. And I had few good beers. I went and took a nap, and I woke up from the nap, and I met him at the Long Pond, Rutland, the 50-mile spot, which is actually 51.3 miles. He arrived there right at the cutoff at 1:15. He was like, "All right, I can continue." They're like, "Yep, you can continue." They were going to cut him off, but they're like, "No, you've come this far. You want to go?" They're like, "Yep." He's like, "Yep." They're like, "You just got to make it to the next spot, which was 7 miles away in Spencer, Mass." By 4 a.m. and this is at 1:15. So he's like, "Hey, I can do it." So then he goes back to the truck with me. He sits down. He eats a little bit of food. He changes his socks. He changes his shirt. He gets his make sure his lights are good to go. This is at like 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, this is 1:15 in the morning. So he takes off. I come here to this Camp Marshall spot, and he makes it almost there. And he's like, "Dude," he's like, I can't do this anymore." He's like, I'm like completely dehydrated. My legs are completely cramped up. Everything he tried to eat, he threw it up. He couldn't keep it down. It's a lot of running. I can't even fathom thinking about it. I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. Exit full screen. I can't even fathom, boys and girls, what it's like to walk more than like say 10 miles. I've done no 10-mile walk. I don't know. And it's not only just like walking, it's running, and it's running. It's not even running. Like, oh, I think I could do it running around a track. No, it's not running around a track. It's not running a road race. It's not like the Boston Marathon where you're running up streets. He's running up to like the hills. He's running up mountains in trails, and almost 80% of it was trails through the middle of nowhere. So a lot of big hand for big the different spots. I could track him. This is at the Rutland spot. This is the Long Pond of Rutland. I met him here. He kept running. He ran all the way down. And he's like, dude, I'm done. He went about 60 miles in 18 hours. It was an honor and a privilege to support you, Jeff Ahern, in your mid-state massive ultra trail attempt. He sent me this. I'm going to show you this lovely picture. I hope none of you have eaten. This is his foot. Obviously, if that's not his hand, that's his foot. That's a lot of blood under his. Yeah, he's a little swollen in the toes. I hope nobody just recently ate or is eating. So that's pretty gross. Big hands up. Big hands and big applause. Big round of applause for Jeff Ahern. 60 effing miles, dude. What will he do next? It's the question there. Whatever you do next, dude, I got your back. I'm there to support you. Like I said, it was my pleasure. It was my honor, and I do it all over again in a second. Speaking of my honor, it is my honor tonight to welcome our paranormal guest. I'm gonna flip the switch. We have speaking of great things like great football teams, like the great Miami Dolphins. We have another great human being from the great state of Florida joining us this evening. He's a psychic medium. He's an award-winning author, a medal award-winning author. He's authored 3 books. He has his 4th book coming out today. Let me run that banner for you real quick. As I try to introduce, I guess I'm stopping really quick to run the banner. This is terrible. I'm totally not prepared. Cryingtree.net. Our guest, paranormal investigator as well. Welcome to the show, John Russell. How you doing, John?
Hey, buddy, it's so good to be back, man. We always have a good time talking. I see a lot of people over there in the chat. Appreciate them tuning in. We're going to have a good time tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have fun. So, psychic medium, paranormal investigator. John, which came first?
What came first was actually psychic medium. Mm-hmm. I discovered my psychic gift when I was between the age of 5 and 6 years old. And then around the age of 11, I started doing paranormal investigation seriously and paranormal research. Mm-hmm. And I'm now 70 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I've done psychic readings professionally for over 50 years. I've read for clients in over 40 countries. Mm-hmm. And I have conducted hundreds of paranormal investigations. And I've authored 3 books, which are in print. The 4th one just came out today. The one you're seeing the crawl for, cryingtree.net. Yep. That literally just came out today. The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock is the title of that book. You can get it through my publisher when you go to this cryingtree.net. There's a link there to click on to buy, and you can get it from my publisher. Right before we went on the air, I became aware that the paperback is now available on Amazon as well. And I'll get links up for that, but you can buy it at my publisher now if you want to. And buddy, I tell you, I've had good success with all of the books. I'm really excited about this one. This one, I'll read you a little bit of the pre-publication endorsements that I got. One, and so I'll put it in somebody else's words other than mine. The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock is a mesmerizing journey into the mystical and unexplained, authentic, heartfelt, and truly extraordinary. My producer for the History Channel pilot that I shot that we've talked about before and I write about in my 2nd book, A Knock in the Attic, he wrote the foreword for this book. And part of that, he said, John is a storyteller who hovers with the greats because his stories do not come with imagined characters and false suppositions. They are infused with real-world experiences and in-the-moment reactions. They are layered and real, intriguing, and welcoming. Read the stories, allow your mind to soak them in, and know these are not fairy tales because they are brimming with truth. And that's from my producer and friend, James Mullen. And then I have to read you an excerpt from this from New York Weekly. I had a very long article about myself in New York Weekly. And it says, John Russell stands as a distinctive voice in the realm of paranormal literature, crafting narratives that transcend the ordinary and delve into the mystic aspects of the psychic and paranormal realms with an illustrious career that merges real-world psychic experiences with rich storytelling. Russell's works are a treasure trove for enthusiasts of the uncanny and the supernatural. So a lot of good pre-publication comments there. I'm really excited about this book. My third book, we talked about 20 ways to increase your psychic abilities. That's kind of like the psychic textbook. The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock returns to the storytelling mode of the first two books.
Nice.
And the advanced studies I've got for it from the readers, I sent out advanced copies of the manuscript before it was published. They were just, they said they think it's maybe the best one yet. So I'm really excited.
And so is it a nonfiction storytelling or a fictional?
Yeah, all nonfiction. All of my books are all nonfiction.
Nice. Is based on your experiences in the paranormal or your investigations?
Everything that has happened to me. Yeah, in these stories I write personally in all of my books about all the paranormal experiences that I've had. Well, not all, because I've had thousands of them by now.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine.
People ask me, how do you know that? Well, I literally kept track. I had somebody, a smart aleck one time, said, how does this guy know how many experiences he had? What does he do? Go, oh, here comes another one. I better write this down. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I did. Thank you, Brandy. Bless your heart. I hope you enjoy them.
Sure.
But that's exactly what I did. I started keeping track. I started years and years and years ago, decades ago. I started writing down the paranormal experiences as they've happened. And there's been thousands of them now. And I take and highlight the most dramatic ones in each of my books. And these are things that have literally happened to me that I have experienced on the physical realm. They've happened on the physical realm, not in meditation, not in a dream, not in my imagination, whatever. These things have literally physically happened. A lot of times they've been witnessed by other people. And we recorded them, we video recorded them, audio recorded them, taking pictures of them. And like I say, other people have seen them. So these are real events.
Yep, of course. Nice.
The reason that I write these books, the main thing, buddy, is I want people to understand that the paranormal realm is real, that it does interact with us in a physical way. And what I have learned from that, what these experiences have taught me, and then what I can share with the reader to say, hey, this is what you can learn from my experience as well, how you can translate that into your own life experience, how you can learn and grow from this spiritually and go on from there. But let me tell you, and as anybody can tell you who's read any of my books, these are not dry, dull experiences. It's not preachy. It's not boring. These stories are entertaining.
Nice.
And you're going to love them. You're going to enjoy them. You're going to have a good time with them. And I mean, there's such variety now in this new book, The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock. I write about never before told stories from my childhood, going back to when I was just a kid. I update stories from my first two books and go into some new territory that I haven't written about before. And if anybody has ever read Robert Fulghum, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, I write some spiritual essays in this book, kind of in the style of Robert Fulghum. So it's wide ranging. It's exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun for everybody. I'm really, really happy to get this one out.
So let me ask you, son, John, as a paranormal investigator, I have found in the past that some of these experiences I'm fortunate enough to document, but a lot of them, nothing's rolling, nothing's going on. And it's like, bam, something happens. Like, shit, I wish, oh man, nothing, or like we'll have just hit stop on everything. Yeah. And then like there'll be a disembodied voice like right there in the room in front, like, oh my God, what the nothing's rolling, nothing was going. Do you find that happens? That they communicate no matter what's being recorded or not. They you have experiences when nothing's you have experiences when you're not even looking for it, even when you're just living life, shit happens.
And when you're just living life, they will communicate with you. They'll give you signs. They'll talk to you out loud. They'll slam doors. They'll move objects. All types of things. And I tell people, I say, look, this is the other side communicating to us that there is a spiritual reality beyond the physicality that we see, and that we can connect with that realm in positive ways to improve our own lives, to receive guidance from our guardian angels, to receive intuitive guidance and input, to, dreams. Guidance comes to us in dreams. We may have talked about this before, but and I write about this in my third book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. There was and I have an entire chapter on dream interpretation in there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's
I write about the inspiration and the guidance that can come to us through dreams. And one of the most dramatic examples that I give, that I wrote about, I had this buddy of mine that worked for the National Security Agency, the NSA, and he was a code breaker. And he told me this amazing story where they had this code they were trying to break. They had all the computers on it and all the best minds on it and everything else. Couldn't make a dent in this thing. And he said they worked on it. It became his obsession. He was just every day, all day long. And then he'd think about it at night. And he said, finally, it was just driving him to the point of distraction. And he said he came home absolutely, totally exhausted. And he said, John, he said, I stood at the end of my bed and I turned around facing away from the bed and I put my legs up against the bed and just fell over backward into the bed with my suit and tie on and everything. That's how exhausted I was. And he said, I was almost immediately asleep. That's how mentally and physically exhausted I was from trying to work on this thing. And he said, I started dreaming, and it was a lucid dream because I knew I was dreaming. And he said, here came, like on that in Times Square where they have the ticker tape things go across, the bill. He said, here came this ticker tape with all the symbols of this code. And he said, in my dream, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I can't even get away from this thing in my sleep now. And he said, below it, another ticker tape appeared, and the letters in clear, the letters in English, appeared beneath the symbols of the code.
Yep.
And he said, oh my God, I got to wake up and get this down. He said, I woke up and I always kept, pen and paper by the bed. And he said, I wrote down what I saw in my dream. I rushed back to the office, started plugging that in, and it was the solution to the code.
Oh, wow.
So marvelous things can come to us from the other side. We can get inspiration. We can get guidance. We can get all types of information through our dreams and other ways. So that's why I write these books. I want to tell people, say, look, this is a real realm. It's not the dangerous, demon-filled boogaboo thing that the so-called shows on TV would
Right. It's not Hollywood, right?
Yeah, it's not Hollywood. It's a real realm of people with intelligent, sentient beings, our deceased loved ones, our spirit guides, our guardian angels, nature spirits, on and on and on. And we can commune and connect with them in ways that are positive and beneficial to us. And I teach people how to do that in my books.
I work with people with suffering from profound, severe mental illness, and I have a client. She's younger. She's into the whole horror movie thing. She loves the whole demon thing, and she's very hyper religious as part of her mental illness. So she's talking about like demons like possessing her soul and being afraid of it, and everything she sees on TV like rattles around in her brain for a while. I'm like, honestly, I'm like, how much of that is like Hollywood, do you think? And how much of that is actually real? She's like, well, don't you have faith? I'm like, of course I have. I have faith. Not that I'm religious, but I'm spiritual. And I definitely believe. My own experiences have told me that there is definitely something on the other side. There's no doubt in my, John, I have had strangers approach me and tell me intimate stories about me and my wife who passed away. My wife would be dead 6 years next May. Intimate stories that only her and I would know, or intimate things about myself that only like my dead wife would know, or I would know. And they're telling me like how do you know that? Like this. So there's no doubt in my mind that there's definitely something afterwards, whether it's like this all powerful wonderfully bearded man that I see in the paintings that I try to strive to be like, or like just like this center of positive energy. I don't know, but there's definitely something afterwards. Whether
there definitely is.
Whether there's with demons, with the D word, I don't even like to say the word demons because it incites this like, is it? I don't know if it's 100% real
belief system that goes off into this darkness and this nonsense that we don't need.
Right.
And the people always ask me, they said, have you ever encountered a demon or this or that and the other? And in all the hundreds, probably thousands of paranormal investigations I've done over the years and the thousands of paranormal experiences I've had, I've never encountered anything that I would say was a demon. I've never been hit. I've never been bit, never been scratched, never been threatened, never been told get out, none of that nonsense. There are dark energies. There are places. I mean, if you go to Auschwitz, there's going to be some dark energy there.
I've experienced negative energy in negative places. There's a place like that in Rhode Island. It was called the Lad School.
Yeah.
It was a terrible institute. It closed about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And anytime you go on the problem, you never know it was there unless you knew it was there.
Right.
Anytime you go on the problem, you feel that.
Oh, sure.
You feel the energy. I
definitely believe in that. Everything that we do, what we don't realize is that everything that we do projects energy into the air. And that energy can hang around for a very long time. And the more people that are undergoing an experience and projecting that energy into the air, the more pronounced it's going to be and the longer it's going to hang around.
For sure. No, I totally believe the power of prayer. Yeah. Absolutely. Karma, positive thoughts, positive. That's all. Yeah. I totally believe in all that. And you said you've never been scratched. I've been scratched, or what I believe was a scratch. I was bleeding. Yeah. I couldn't tell you how it happened twice. Yeah. I've heard get out. I've heard this is my house. Get the fuck out on not even it was just white noise. It was just a white noise. No transmission was playing. And then through that it came through. Right. Not that I necessarily think it's something demonic. Like people are like, oh, is that a demon? I'm like, well, no. It could have just been an asshole. It could have been a guy that was an asshole in life. He's going to be an asshole in death.
There you go.
All the time. So, I mean,
there you go.
Do you think it's more prevalent that there are asshole ghosts in the universe rather than everything a demon?
And we don't know. We don't understand every classification of sentient being that there is. I mean, look. We're still puzzling over Bigfoot and Dogman and all of these things. And we know they're real. We don't know exactly what they are. We don't know exactly where they come from. We don't know exactly their purpose and what they do and so on and so forth. I always tell people, I say, look, you can extrapolate it this way. In our lives here on Earth, there are neighborhoods that we know we better not go into.
Of course.
Okay. Yes, of course. And likewise, in the spiritual realm, there's neighborhoods that you best tread lightly in. And one of the analogies I give, and I've written so many books now, I don't remember if it's in this book or the coming book that's coming out next year. But one of the analogies that I give is that based upon your upbringing, your nature, your experience, what you feel, what you think, you're going to be more or less comfortable in various situations. And an example of that, I've been a biker since I was 15.
Yep.
I have gone in bars that cops would be reluctant to go in, and I've been comfortable there. Okay. Yep. Now, I might take somebody else in there and they would get in the front door and look around and go, oh my God, this scares me. I got to get out of here. But I'm perfectly at home there. I'm perfectly at ease there. So likewise, in the paranormal realm, there are places that I will be perfectly comfortable going into, and energies and intelligences that I will be perfectly happy and capable of interacting with in a comfortable way that might make you nauseated or scare the heck out of you or whatever. Now, that does not mean that it's demonic, because if you go into the woods, this is another example I give in one of my books. If you go into the woods and a bear comes out and attacks you and tears you up and tries to kill you and eat you, and you manage somehow to survive, and you go to the hospital and you undergo 6 months worth of surgeries before you can even function and walk again, was the bear a demon? Was the bear demonic? No, the bear was just a wild animal doing what bears do.
Right.
That's all it is. And we have to understand that, we have to understand that in some of these instances, there are spiritual beings that are a little stronger, weirder, wilder, more out there than what we may be used to. And it doesn't mean they're demonic, doesn't mean they're malevolent. It just means they are what they are.
Right.
And so I tell everybody, look, if you want to do paranormal investigations, if you want to get serious about it, it takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of experience, a lot of understanding. And you're going to go into situations where you're going to experience things that you may misinterpret. And you may think, oh, I was threatened, or I was this, or I was that, or whatever. And it may not be that way. Or it may be like in your case, like you were saying, this is my house, get out. It just may be a spirit that's on the other side saying, hey, man, I used to live here. What are you doing here? Get
right.
out of my house.
I built this house. This is my kitchen. Yeah,
get out. It may be that. It could be a trickster spirit just messing with you. And the example I give for that is that I talked to a friend of mine that he's had paranormal shows forever and a day and did TV and all this type of stuff and talked to Gene people, interviewed people, and he's done paranormal investigations. And one of the most hilarious things was people go to what's the ship, the St. Mary in California? Paranormal investigations on. Excuse me. And there's by the swimming pool area, I think it is. There's the little girl spirit, and they always connect with her. And okay, honey, go to the light. We're going to send you to the other side. Go to the light. Okay, and she leaves and she goes, and everybody's happy and everybody's good. And he tells me, he says, the next tour group that comes through, or the next paranormal investigation group that comes through, guess who they encounter at the swimming pool? The little girl. Honey, everything's okay. Go to the light. And she leaves. And then the next group that comes through, guess who's there? So we have to understand that there may be spirits on the other side that are going, watch me get these rooms. Watch me get these. We have to understand that. Look, if my uncle was a prankster here, he's more than likely going to be a prankster on the other side.
Of course.
If there are spirits that have senses of humor, will, volition, intelligence, and they're a little bit warped, maybe they're like, hey, watch me get this guy. Watch me get this guy. So we have to understand that when we're dealing with these intelligences and when we're dealing with these spirits.
For sure. No, that's really. Is there any investigations that stick out for you more than others that were more like, I don't like to go with scarier because it's not always scary, but it was more like, or it was more
eventful.
Eventful. Yeah.
Well, nearly everything I've done has been eventful, has produced some astonishing things. I think just for the highlight of it, just for the level of what it was, I think doing the paranormal investigation of the Lincoln assassination, I think has right up there, probably above everything, because just to stand in the presence where that history was made and communicate with that energy and communicate with those spirits and communicate with the environment itself was in and of itself was mind blowing.
That's something I did want to get into. I did read that in your bio a bit about the History Channel with the Lincoln assassination thing. Dude, I'm a giant fan of history. I volunteer at a local museum here in Rhode Island, military museum, and everything. I eat up every bit of history, and I'm more so fascinated nowadays with the American Civil War. So the Lincoln assassination. Oh my God, that whole plot, that whole
that cranked your bait, yeah.
That's. So you went to Ford's Theater?
Oh yeah.
Where else did you go to the house across the street where he died?
The Peterson house. We went there where he died. We went to the Mud House. We went to several other places. And what made this really astonishing was because of the cachet of the production company, Atlas Media, in conjunction with the History Channel, which is who we filmed it for. That cachet opened doors for us that nothing else could. And we went in these places with me, the film crew, and no one else. They would lock the place down when we arrived, and the docents would let us in and then disappear. and there were no tourists, and it was just me and the film crew, and I got to roam as freely as I wanted to in these places and pick up all the energy and communicate with everything that I wanted to in all these places. So that was incredibly astonishing. And we I always tell people, I say, don't hang around me unless you want to experience the paranormal, because you will, because I always attract paranormal manifestations. So there was a lot of paranormal manifestations. Some of it we actually captured on film.
Really? Wow.
We were at the Mud House, and we were upstairs, and I was trying to invoke the ghosts of Mrs. Mudd and maybe Samuel Mudd if he would come back or whatever, which he didn't. But we heard this loud snap, like a big twig cracking, a big branch cracking. And we heard that coming from downstairs, and there was nobody downstairs. And I said, there's our ghost. We got to go downstairs. So we all run downstairs, the camera crew. And we walked into this area where there's like a little kitchen area, and I was standing there, and the crew and the docents, everybody was standing over here. And I was being filmed with a regular camera and also a FLIR camera, forward-looking infrared radiation. And the way the FLIR camera was set up, anything that was cold would register as black, and anything that was hot would register as white.
Yep. That's cool.
So they're filming me with both cameras. And I said, Mrs. Mudd, is that you? And I paused and I said, yes, it's her. Mrs. Mudd has come back. She's communicating with me. I said, she's standing over here. And I pointed off to my right. And I said, she's walking toward me. And I said, she's entering me now. She's passing through me. I feel her energy. She's literally walking through me and coming out the other side. And on the FLIR camera, on the floor, coming from that direction and walking through me, you could see these black footsteps. And
John? Black footsteps. I hope, John, you froze, if you can hear me. John, back out and come back in if you can.
There you go.
Okay, great.
Okay,
you
we're
skipped,
back.
You skipped there for a second, John. I got you back.
Too. I could hear you, but I couldn't see you. So the footsteps started from the direction that I said she was at, and you could see these black footsteps walk across the floor in real time and walk through me, and they were like women's size period era shoes. That was the footprints that we saw. So we picked that up. So it was just oh my God, incredible, just wild, just incredible.
Oh, absolutely. No, but correct me if I'm wrong. Dr. Samuel Mudd, he's the one that helped John Wilkes Booth after he jumped from the stage. He broke his leg. He went to Mudd's house.
Right.
Didn't Dr. Mudd? He got hung. He was one of the people that got hung afterwards.
Oh, he got imprisoned.
Oh, he got imprisoned. Oh,
yeah, he was imprisoned, and the Mudd family, the ancestors are still there, and this is a real touchy subject with them because they swear Mudd didn't recognize Booth, didn't have nothing to do with him. Well, the funny thing was, come to find out, according to history, John Wilkes Booth was literally the Tom Cruise of his day.
Oh,
he was that well known and that well liked, and very popular. And not only that, but Samuel Mudd had met with Booth twice before. And once had gone to Booth's hotel room. They'd sat and drank together and discussed land and horses and this, that, and the other. So he was intimately acquainted with Booth. He knew
he definitely probably know him, right? So
yeah, he knew who Booth was. So my impression was that Mudd knew it was Booth and da-da-da-da-da. And man, that did not fly, with the descendants. They didn't like that. But we had, and there were other manifestations we got there. We had one of the caretakers there, who I believe was a Mudd descendant. He went outside and he said the sheriffs come and patrol this at night, because it's a historic site and they patrol it. And he said, I'm going to go out and tell them that we're filming, and if they see cars, see lights on, they'll know what's going on, so they won't think anything's happening. And he said, the rest of the property I'm going to lock down so we don't get anybody seeing the lights come in, think we're still open or whatever. So he went out, locked everything down, turned all the lights out in all the outbuildings, and locked all the outside buildings up. So we had a short break in filming, and he came back in, and he was almost trembling, and he was white. And we were like, "What's wrong?" And he said, "I just went outside, and all those buildings that I locked up, and I'm the only one that has the keys to those, all those buildings that I turned the lights out and locked up, the doors were unlocked, the doors were wide open, the lights were on, and in this one, like outside kitchen area, the water was running full blast
wow.
this thing, and he was just totally freaked out. So
Yeah.
I was able to attract and manifest all these paranormal things. And the great thing about it was I got to pick up a lot of paranormal information that we were later able to validate as being accurate and as being true. And what made this really great is, unlike you, buddy, I am the absolute worst history person on the planet. I hate it. I don't like it. I was literally the kid in school that wrote the answers down on his hand in ink to try and pass the history test because I didn't study. I hated it, didn't understand it, didn't like it. And I'm that way into adulthood. So when they were auditioning psychics for the History Channel for the show, I told them, I said, I'm the best guy you can get to prove the psychic validity of this because I know nothing about history. I hate history. I don't like history. I've never studied history. I said, and as far as the Lincoln assassination goes, I know John Wilkes Booth assassinated Lincoln at Ford's Theater, and that's a sum total of it. And that was the truth. That was it. That was all I knew.
That's it.
Everything that I picked up psychically that we validated, had to come from this unknown realm, had to come from this unknown source.
So I don't know if you must have learned this in your time doing this whole filming and whatnot. But Abraham Lincoln was a very spiritual person. He's him and his wife were very huge in spiritualism, and Lincoln had several dreams allegedly leading up to his assassination, of things that are going to happen. Did you get any? Did you talk to Abraham Lincoln at all? Did you get any?
I did connect with his spirit, and he did have a premonition of his death, and he also, what I picked up was that when Booth burst into the presidential box and shot him, it was like Lincoln had this awareness, this knowing of what was happening, and what went through Lincoln's mind was, here it is. And he was not afraid. And when he was taken across the street, where he subsequently died the following morning, laid there all night and died the following morning, his spirit had basically kind of already begun to disconnect with his body. And he was like, what a coward this Booth was. He was angry at that. And, somebody take care of Mary. And the other thing that really, really struck me was this resolution, this absolute, total, complete absence of fear of dying and of the unknown. And over, what kept playing to me was something that he had said in life that was attributed to him in life was, okay, I did the very best that I could. I left the situation the best way that I could. I'm ready to go on. And that just blew my mind. It just astonished me. But
absolutely remarkable. I know that they lost the son, but they were like had this like connection to the spiritual realm. I know she used to do like seances at the White House and stuff.
And the thing about Lincoln that I didn't know till after we had shot the pilot, and I studied some of this or became aware of some of this that was passed on to me through my producer and other channels. Lincoln had over 10,000 assassination threats in his lifetime. 10,000 death threats. Now, how many of us would get 3 death threats and say, okay, that's it, we're out, we're done.
Yeah, I'm not doing this. Yeah.
I'm not doing this. This guy got over 10,000.
Yeah.
And kept on, stayed the course. Now that's some balls.
They had to when he was coming into DC after he got elected. There was a ton of death threats in Baltimore. They were running riots. They were gonna murder Lincoln on the train before he came to DC, and they had to. I think they ran like a false train, or they said he was going through at 4 PM. He went through at like 2 AM or something, or they rerouted it. But there was a lot of not good sentiment about Lincoln
Yeah.
In January of '61, the entire South
Right.
seceded, and
Right.
the Civil War exploded. Just an
Yeah.
absolute bloodbath.
Oh yeah. It
We
was
found new ways to kill each other in that war.
exactly.
Oh my God, it was.
And I write about in my first book, Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead, I write about psychically investigating the Olustee battlefield here in Florida, which was one of the big major Civil War battles. One of the biggest.
What's the name of it? What's the name of it?
Olustee.
Oh, yep, okay.
Yeah. And so I went there and got all these psychic impressions and everything. One of the most amazing things was I got there early. I was on my motorcycle. This is my first book, Writing with Ghost Angels and Spirits of the Dead. And I got there real early in the morning. There was nobody there. And they open up the visitor center and just leave it open. And inside there's a TV with a VCR playing this tape over and over and over of this recording about the, Olustee battlefield and everything. And I went outside, watched that a little bit, and went outside. And I said, okay, I gotta get away from this stuff, activate my psychic senses, and figure out what went on here. And I hear this musket fire. And I'm like, oh crap. And then I hear this drumming and all this stuff, and I hear horses, and I'm like, crap. I should have checked the schedule. I'm here. There's a damn reenactment, and I hate reenactments. Now that's just me. That's just me. Nothing.
Well, when you try to investigate, you want to control the environment anyway.
I want to be in a quiet environment, and it's nothing against anybody else, and it's nothing against reenactments. I just don't do them. I just don't like them. And I was like, son of a bitch, here I am. I'm trying to do this investigation. There's a reenactment thing out here. God dang it. So I'm like, well, crap. So I walk towards the field. I walk away. There's brush and trees and things concealing the field where all this is going on. And I'm like, I'm going to stumble into them, or they're going to stumble into me. This is just a wash. So I walk toward this field where all this noise is coming from, where all this is going on. And there's not a single soul there in the flesh.
Wow.
And I'm hearing cannon fire, and I'm hearing musket fire, and I'm hearing drums and pipes, and I'm hearing horses, and I'm hearing yells. And I'm just standing there with my jaw agape going, oh my God. This is the best paranormal investigation you could ever have, because here's the authentic reenactment that and then finally everything faded out and stopped. And I was like, holy God. And my producer was like, did you get EVP? Did you get EVP? And I was like, no, I didn't. No. And he chastises me to this day for not having my recorder and turning it on.
Yeah.
But
I'm reminded of, I have a friend, another good friend of mine is involved in history. He's actually a reenactor himself. He traveled down to, a few years ago. He had this experience, and he called me right after. He's like, dude, you got to check this out. You got to check out Gettysburg. I'm like, yeah, I've been to Gettysburg like a dozen times in my life. I've never investigated it. It's all like just appreciation for the history. But anyway, he was out Gettysburg. Obviously, it's a very large battlefield, several miles long. And he's on the Confederate row. It's like cannon after cannon after cannon. It's like the Virginia Monument, which is just massive. It's one of my favorites. It's General Lee on the horseback and all his men. It's absolutely massive. It's absolutely beautiful. The spot where Pickett's charge. That whole row, where the whole 150 cannonade went off, the loudest day in American history. So he's out there. He's looking at he's looking at the cannons. He's looking at the battlefield. It's about dusk. It was November. So November up here, that's Pennsylvania. So that's where we're in New England right now. It's probably in the 30s right now.
Yeah, it's chilly.
It's pretty cold. It's chilly. Yeah. So he's like, first I thought it was fireflies, but we don't have fireflies past like August up here. Maybe in September you say, but not in November. Not when it's like 30. Yeah. He's like, I can see my own breath, and there's fireflies all in the field, and it's like they're not flying around in the atmosphere. They're right at like body level. They're like 100 feet in front of me, and he's like, I swear to God, I didn't think they were fireflies. I thought they was just musket fire. I just thought I was saying musket fire.
Yeah,
and he was blown away by the incident. You hear about this in most Civil War battlefields. Do you think this? Do you think this is all just residual energy, just holding on to that those moments, those my God, bloody moments?
Exactly. And that's like going back to what I said earlier. You can't have a large number of people in a certain space projecting this energy without it leaving an impact on that environment that lasts.
Yeah.
And it
Right.
becomes kind of a psychic recording, a paranormal recording, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
of what occurred there, and replays over and over and over in that atmosphere.
That incredible
And it's,
energy. Not, I mean, not even just. I mean, there's a lot. The sheer
yeah.
mass quantities of death
Oh yeah.
and brutal death.
Yes.
But I mean, just like
Yes.
the energy of like walking all the way up there, or like
Yeah.
like carrying all this stuff with you, or your family's left behind, all the
Yep.
emotion, all the
Yep.
energy. I tell people all the time, you feel like the emotion if you walk into a room and nobody's speaking, everybody's pissed off at each other. You can feel the thickness in the air.
Oh
You
yeah.
can
Yeah.
feel that energy that carries with emotion. So
Exactly.
I can only imagine the emotion of over 100,000 people trying to kill each other in a 3-day
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to
Kind-
definitely leave some kind
Yeah.
of.
It's got to leave an impression. Yeah. And it's just nuts. And and it set me to thinking about man's inhumanity to man and what we do to each other in the name of politics and religion and this and that and the other. And it's insane. And my goal on this planet with my remaining years and in writing my books is trying to get people to think about our sameness instead of our otherness, because as I point out in writing about that experience in my first book, under different circumstances, the people on the opposing armies might have met and become the best of friends.
It's funny you say that. There's a story that's wrapped up in one of the museums the museum that I volunteer for. We talked about it in. I had the curator on as a guest in the Memorial Day show, and I'll do it again in November for the Veterans Day. But there was an incident at Gettysburg. It was a Rhode Island Day. He was Fred Brown. He was the captain of the Rhode Island Battery B. It was a battery of cannons, and he was out in front of the Union line on the second day. They were firing towards Lee's headquarters, and he sees a body of troops moving up the Emmitsburg Road. He thinks it's the company from New York, the regiment from New York, to give him support, and it's Wright's Brigade out of Georgia. And one of the members of Wright's Brigade is Simeon Theus. He's a private, but he's a sharpshooter. So one of the officers said like, Theus, shoot that officer on the horse. So there's an officer with a white civilian hat, and he's riding the horse, and he's guiding the battery back through the skate, protecting all these guns. And this guy takes a shot at him. He shoots him in the neck, knocks him right off his horse. This guy goes through the rest of the war, Simeon Theus, saying it's the only Yankee officer he knew that he had been shot. So years after the war, in the 1880s, all the veterans are coming out for the anniversary, realizing like the incredible, huge, pivotal event that they were all involved in, the Battle of Gettysburg, and they started laying monuments on the field. So for one regiment to have the provenance that they were there at that part of the battlefield, they needed another regiment, most of them on the other side, to say, yeah, they were there. So Wright's Brigade they want the monument from the second day of the Battle of Gettysburg because they were close to the Union line. So they wanted a monument. So the representative of their organization, of their veteran organizations, a man by the name of Simeon Theus. He's a wealthy jeweler at this point in Savannah. He writes a letter to the Providence Journal here in Rhode Island, and wants to know if they could send out to the Rhode Island companies. They knew it was a Rhode Island battery. He said those Rhode Island boys will remember us from Georgia because we shot one of their officers. And the letter got forwarded to the Reno. It's called the Reno Veterans Post here in Rhode Island. It's the Rhode Island Battery B, the first Artillery's veterans organization. The head of that organization is a man by the name of T. Fred Brown. He was the captain of this battery. He was the guy that was shot. So after Fred is shot, he falls off his horse. The bullet comes within a quarter of an inch of his carotid artery. He's pulled off the field. He survives. And October of that year, he comes back. He comes back out of he was like an invalid in Rhode Island. He comes back out and finishes the war. He's on the picket line when Lee surrenders to Grant and Virginia. He's at the picket line when the surrender comes across the field. So anyway, this guy finishes the war. He goes home. He takes over the GAR post. He gets this letter. He's like, I shot This officer, you remember us because we shot one of your officers. He was riding a roan horse. He's like this. He writes a letter back. He's like, "Hey, describe this a little bit for me." He's like, "Yeah, he was wearing a civilian hat. It was a white hat. He was wearing a roan horse. I shot him in the neck, killed him. He's the only officer." So they go back and forth. He's like, "I was that guy." And so Simeon Theus, the guy who shot T. Fred Brown, these two become closest of friends. They end up forgiving each other, and for years and years they write back and forth. So then, a few years back, we at the Armory, they got all this stuff, all this stuff came together. Like, the gun that this guy was like commanding is there. This guy's hat that he was wearing on the field that day is there.
Wow.
The bullet that Simeon Theus later that day got shot. He got shot in the leg. He carried a bullet with him for 31 years in his leg. He had it pulled out and made it into a pendant.
Wow.
That's there at the Armory. It's crazy. So all this stuff comes together this way.
Yeah.
And these guys, the fact that these guys, these two men who tried to kill each other in Gettysburg, 20 years later, they come together and they're the best of friends after they tried to kill each other. It's just, it's amazing how history comes together, because a lot of this stuff came together at the museum, but 150 years later. But it's amazing how, like, two guys out of like over 100,000 men fighting that day in Gettysburg, came together years later. It's
totally amazing,
and became the best of friends. It's almost like the universe, like, kind of coerced it to happen, almost.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And the universe does things like that so we can learn these lessons from those experiences. And it's like the in the World War, when we were fighting the Germans, there's this well-known story that, and I don't remember if it was around Christmas time. I think
it's Christmas time. It was World War I. Yep.
And they got out and played soccer together. Everybody laid down their rifles.
Yep. British and German troops. Germany had to refresh their troops after that happened, because they had become so brethren with their British troops that they didn't want to fight them anymore. So they pulled them off the front line, and one of the man's regiment who got put on the front line was a young lieutenant by the name of Adolf Hitler. Funny history, how history these little stories come together.
But these are the things, the life lessons that we desperately need to learn, that it's not the other, it's us. It's all mankind is interconnected, interwoven. And you think about the the Russian soldier and the Ukrainian soldier. One dies, the other dies. They're both thinking about their mamas, their daddies, their wife, their kids. We have this shared commonality, this shared humanness. And what's taken away from us and war and all these other things is people want to get us to look at the other person as the enemy or non-human or whatever. And the spiritual thing regarding that is that I've always said, if you take 10 people and put them all together, and every single one of these 10 people has all the health care they need, all the food they need, a secure, comfortable house, a reliable car, all the money they can spend, they can take a vacation whenever they want to, everything else, life is good. Everybody has everything that they need. One of those people out of those 10 people is going to look at the other 9 and go, now how can I get more of what he has, and how can I control her, and what can I, we have this warped thing. And I don't know if it's a temptation. I don't know if it comes from this dark energy. I don't know where it comes from, but we have that. And that's what we have to learn to overcome. And we have to quit looking at each other as the enemy. And we have to begin to look at this commonality in the entire world. Right. They say, one world government and Antichrist. No. It's not that. It's just all of us respecting our common humanity. And if you want to be Italian and have Italian traditions and eat Italian food, God bless you. I love it. But you're my brother and I'm your brother. If you want to be English and be British and have this and that, good deal. But don't go to war with me and don't go to war with the Italians. If you want to be Spanish and have this and this, great. But don't look at me as your enemy. That's the thing that we have to overcome in this world now. And it doesn't lead to a satanic one world government, the Antichrist. What it would lead to is this utopian era where we would all work together to ensure that everybody has as much access to eliminating poverty, overcoming sickness, illness, and disease, and all these negativities. We would be putting our efforts into that instead of making more and better fighter planes.
Right. Yeah, it would.
Excuse me.
It'd definitely be the best way to go. Honestly, people being in mental health for 25 years, people always that's like people talk about gun control in this country and whatnot. And honestly, it's mental health. We need more attention to mental illness and prevention and stuff like that. If you want to kill somebody, you could do it with anything. You could do it. I've seen people do it with a pencil before.
Ice pick, pencil, your hands.
I've seen a 12-year-old attack another 12-year-old with a fork across the table. They stabbed the kid in the arm. They were 12-year-olds. He said something about his mother. The kid flipped out, wanted to kill him. He used whatever he can get. He doesn't need an AR-15.
Exactly.
It's more mental health, more understanding others, and
it really is
problems that afflict them and stuff.
To, again, the spiritual dimension of things. If we would work toward, instead of having ghost shows to scare people where everything's a demon, if we would work toward understanding the spiritual realm and understanding how to connect with the healing energies in the spiritual realm and applying that to these real world needs, we would make some progress. And like you say, you can tout gun control, you can tout this, you can tout that, you can be Democrat, you can be Republican, blah blah blah. That's not going to solve it.
No, not at all.
It's not going to solve it. It takes a spiritual application of spiritual tools and techniques, and it takes recognizing our commonality and beginning to work on these things. And the thing that really not only aggravates me, but really somewhat frightens me is the fact that people will believe anything they're told, whether it comes from video or YouTube or Facebook or a magazine article or something they see on the internet. People will believe that without investigating it, without researching it. And it's the same way in the spiritual realm. And people will say, oh, well, John just doesn't understand this, or he hadn't experienced that. But, look, I've had thousands of paranormal experiences. I've been researching and investigating this since I was age 11. I've had clients worldwide in 40 countries that I've read for that have given me an 80 to 90% accuracy rating in my readings and predictions. I'm not new at this game. Okay. I've been around the block a few times in this thing, and I know what I'm talking about. And I have experience with all of these other people and all of these shows and all of these things, and they're in it for the money. They're in it for the ego. They're in it for the recognition. And, that's what's hurting us right now. And that's what's really making it difficult for us to have the spiritual advancement that we need, is to understand that we have to get away from all that. We have to get away from all the rumors, all the innuendo, all the junk we read on Facebook and all this. I see things on Facebook that I know are false. Just looking at them, I know are false. People believe, they repost them, and I'll go and research them on the internet, and I'll find the links to disprove them, and I'll go back and post those links for these people. Say, no, this didn't happen. That's not true. This is not occurring. And I was like, how did you get this information? There's this thing called Google
research. Google.
Research.
Very easy research.
We had to remember when the thing went around Facebook that, by God, I'm not watching football ever again because they're not going to play the national anthem before the games anymore. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And of course,
it's still $1 billion industry, dude. Every year, the NFL makes a lot of money
because they've always played the national anthem before every game. It's like, come on, people, my God. But people will jump and run with anything, and that's what I'm trying to get people to realize and to say, hey, let's not do that, and especially let's not do that in the spiritual realm. And
you get those paranormal teams who will try and exploit that. I've had teams here in Rhode Island who will fake sickness and go into people's houses and say there's demons because it will give them a few extra likes on their YouTube channel.
Exactly.
I've been investigating the paranormal, John, for almost 2 decades. I do it to help others, to empower people. This is your house. This is your This is not like the girl that's coming down the stairs backwards and upside down.
Exactly. And The Exorcist,
Probably not
yeah.
something out of a Hollywood movie. These
Exactly.
are probably just people like yourself.
Exactly.
And you just got to talk to them like the people. If they bother you,
Exactly.
say, hey, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And honestly, 9 times out of 10 they do. So
Yeah.
and respect them. And respect them like people. Treat them like people.
Exactly. You know, that's one thing that people need to understand when you interact with the other side or investigate the other side. Please do so with respect, with common courtesy. You know, you're dealing with intelligences and sentient beings with feelings and emotions just like you are. Do it with respect. You know, how would it be, anybody watching or listening to this, how would it be if I came to your house, knocked on your door as loud as I could, and when you open the door, what the heck? Said, get out here. I want to talk to you. Show yourself to me. You'd be either calling the cops or knocking my teeth out.
Yeah, right.
So
exactly.
why do we think we can go into haunted locations? And every place on the planet is haunted, by the way. Why do we think we can go in these hot spots and start cursing the spirits or challenging them or this, that, and the other? And what tickles me is I've seen all these ghost shows where they do that, and then something physically, literally happens, and they scream and run and cry like little girls. And
Dude,
it's like,
run.
Yeah, it's like, what, man?
Yep.
So that's entirely the wrong way to approach this. And I know Zach Bagans, who's been called out for faking stuff, you know, he said famously that, you know, I like to, I know people don't like this, but I like to provoke to see if I can get something going. That's entirely the wrong way to approach this. If you want to have a positive spiritual experience, you want your intuition to activate, you want your life to be better, you want guidance from the other side, you go to the other side with respect and with dignity and say, hey, you know, look, I'm not here to upset anybody. I'm not here to trespass. I'm here to try and learn. I'm trying to understand. Is there something you need from me? Is there something I need from you? Is there a message that you can give me that'll help me, or a message you want me to deliver to someone or to everyone at large? And that's how you approach that. And also, please, 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 when you go into a paranormal investigation, maybe you've set up a REM pod and you tell the spirits, come over here and get close to this, and you'll activate this, and the light and the sound will go off, and I'll know you're here. And it does. And what does everybody do?
Do it again.
Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. What are you, a trained monkey on the other side? Come on. You know?
It's not a polished show. It's not a polished show.
Yeah, exactly right. And you have to understand that when you get that demonstration, that's all it is a demonstration. It's not a communication. A communication is when the psychic or the medium approaches that and says, okay, we see you're here. What's your message? Why are you here? Do you have something to communicate? So on and so forth. That's when you get real value in what you're doing.
So, John, last thoughts. What's, if you walk into an area and you feel like there's a spirit there, what's your best way of communicating with the spirit as a medium and as not a medium?
Yeah, I just always open up and say, if there's anyone here that has any communication for me, I'm open to receive that, whatever that is. If I can interact with you in a positive way, if I can help you, if you can help me, if you want your story told, if you have a message for me, if you have a message for somebody in particular, if you have a message for me to give in general to people, like things I've learned in my books that were messages and I've given, you know, to everybody at large. That's how I go in. That's how I interact.
Nice. One piece of equipment that you use that's 110% every time.
Me.
You. Awesome. That's always a great answer. That's. I mean, I love the recorder, but myself, it's like I feel a certain way in certain areas. I'm not saying I'm special. I'm not saying I'm psychic. I'm just, my body reacts a certain way in certain areas, and I hit record. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, when I hit record, it's something always comes through.
Well, our bodies are sensors to the psychic realm, and our souls and our spirits, our minds, our emotions are sensors to the psychic realm, and we have to understand that. And you know, we have to understand that it's always there. It's around all of us all the time. We're just not tuned into it, and we have to learn how to open up, how to tune into it, how to connect with it in positive ways. That's why I wrote the third book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities, is to teach people how to do that and to do it in a simple, easy way.
People always so like with these TV shows or even Hollywood movies or even the words that we use in general, like haunting.
Yeah.
They all have such negative
Negative
connotations.
connotations. Yeah.
Not in all my years of doing this, I've had very few negative experiences.
Exactly.
It's just it's not as negative as they.
Overwhelmingly, my
Oh yeah,
experiences have been positive and in some cases literally life-saving.
just really cool.
Yeah,
It never stops getting cool.
exactly.
They never
Exactly.
stop like finding ways to be like, oh my god, that was so cool. I wanted
That
to.
was so awesome. Yeah.
That's so
That's why I
awesome.
write these books. I am so amazed by the experiences I've had and
Mhm,
thankful and grateful.
mhm,
And I have to chronicle them. I have to be the storyteller. I have to get these out for people to read and be entertained and be thrilled and be enlightened and learn something and say, oh my God, maybe I can do this too. Maybe I can have this too. So,
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes it's not even the experience. Sometimes it's just the experience. Sometimes you don't have the audio or the video or anything to go along with. Sometimes it's just that one experience that you have.
exactly.
It's like, oh
And
my
I
god,
think
this is
that's where
so cool.
we get into a mistaken thought pattern when we do paranormal investigations. You don't have to document everything that happens.
Right.
Just like you said, you can just experience it, let it bless your life, let it help your life, and go on from there. Now, I document as much as I can because I'm the storyteller. That's my
Hmm.
job. I'm
Right.
supposed to get this out there to you guys. So I have to document it. I have to ruminate on it. I have to think about it. I have to expound on it and I have to
Hmm.
get it out there to you guys. That's my job. But there are things that I've experienced that I haven't written about, that I
Right.
haven't talked about on interviews that were just, thank you guys. I needed that. And
Yeah. A
that's,
little sometimes little things, yeah, that are really
yeah,
cool
that should
or
be all our lives.
really
Absolutely.
kind of scary at the same time. Even like seeing people that were like not there that were ghosts. I've
Yeah.
seen them, but it's happened to me about 4 or 5 times in my lifetime. It's never been terrifying.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I realized that when I think it was a ghost. It wasn't terrifying. When I'm able to like connect them to somebody in history, even it's not that terrifying. But I don't. It's just people.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. It's just
That's
people.
it. That's exactly it. Exactly right.
So, John, I want to thank you. Is there anything else you want to plug? You got your new book. I'm sorry. Your new book is cryingtree.net.
Right.
What's your other books called? What
My
are
other
your
books, now for that, if you want to learn all the books, you can go to johnrussellauthor.com.
John Russell?
johnrussellauthor.com. So that has all my books that are published now. I'm getting a link up there to the new book, which just came out today. So I haven't got that done yet, but there's links to buy all the other books. Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. That was my first book. A Knock on the Attics. My second book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. My third book, and now my fourth book, The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock. And then I've got another one that's already written. It's in the can. It's coming out next year. The Cansack Ghost, which is more
Nice.
true paranormal experiences. Because,
Mhm,
like I say, I've had thousands of these, and some of
mhm.
them are absolutely spectacular. They're mind
Absolutely.
blowing. They're
Yeah.
amazing. They're entertaining. They're educating. They're fun to read. So
Mhm.
there's more coming, and I'm writing more after that. There's many more books to come. So
That's
lots
awesome.
going on. And then if anybody's interested in getting a reading, go to johnrussell.net. That's my psychic website. All the directions are there to get a reading if you want a reading, so on and so forth. So
Do you do tarot card? Do you do media how
I
do you
do everything.
really? Oh,
Everything. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We'll have to I occasionally have mediums on hand. We'll do like tarot card readings live for guests or not. Would that be something you'd want to come back on there and do maybe or
Oh, we could do that. I think we did that with your aunt one time.
we did, yeah, we did.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
Yeah.
continue the same format here. I'll have a medium on every so often,
Right,
bring on
right.
people, and we'll do
Yeah,
live reading. It's pretty cool. People
yeah,
really remarkable experiences.
yeah.
So, and that's what it's all about. And thank you for the experience tonight, John. Was awesome. And I look forward to looking at some of your more experiences in your newer
Buddy,
book.
I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that's listened, everybody that's watched, everybody that's tuned in. And we will do it again, my friend.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
So tune in next week here on the Ghost and the Goat. I don't know if Bams will be back, but I'll be back here on the Ghost and the Goat. Well, hopefully, my Dolphins will be back in the winning category. I don't know what's his name? Snoop Huntley. I don't know if he learned the playbook any better this week. Hopefully, he did. Tua is due back next week. But don't anybody even look at his head because I don't want him to get a concussion. But next week, tune in here on the Ghost and the Goat. We welcome Dave Kane. Dave Kane is a local radio guy here in Rhode Island. He's also an author. He published a book some years ago. I guess it's close to like 20 years ago now or so. He lost his son. And since that time, he's had, speaking of experiences, he's had a number of paranormal, what he feels like his experiences from his son, and he documented them in a book. Dave's going to come on next week and talk about his experiences with the paranormal. I've had, like I said earlier in the show, I had some remarkable experiences since my wife passed. It really helps a grieving spouse, husband, parent, sibling to deal a little bit better with this stuff when you know that your loved one is not only safe on the other side, but they are definitely like there with you. There's like, holy shit, no doubt, with some of the experiences I've had in 5 years. So tune in next week.
Exactly.
Dave Kane, a radio guy, so he's probably got one of those really lovely deep radio voices, So it's great to listen to. And I go not New York Yankees because I hate the Yankees.
The evil empire.
Oh God, I don't want to hear 38, dude, for the rest of the year. I don't want to hear that shit. Honestly, even though we embarrassed ourselves for Boston in front of the Mets, I'm going to say go Mets because
what the heck?
What the heck, So for John Russell, this has been the Ghost and the Goat. I'm Buddy Thayer. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week. Tune in to Three Dudes Brews. We're going to put out our newest episode very soon. Episode 5 from Black Pond Brews. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good week. Peace.